Hello everyone. Welcome to my YNR 24 spoilers. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Sienna and Mitch move to Genoa City. According to spoilers for The Young and the Restless, Mitch and Sienna Bacall will travel to Genoa City around the time Noah Newman returns home. How long are these two staying in Genoa City, and why have they chosen to come? Matt Clark is actually Mitch Bacall. A major problem in Sharon and Nick's lives is that Mitch is actually Matt Clark, as revealed by Sharon Newman. In addition to beating Nick and raping Sharon, Mitch also tormented Sharon's best friend. Nick is jailed for attempting to kill Matt, and Matt is shot. Victor, however, learns that Nick was exonerated after one of Matt's victims shot him. Years later, Matt reappeared after undergoing plastic surgery. Nick was falsely accused of narcotic sales. Matt tries to rape Sharon once more while using a false identity. When the police attempt to apprehend him, someone allegedly sustains fatal injuries after falling off a cliff. Matt makes another attempt to frame Nick for murder. Mitch Bacall and Noah Newman have been collaborating. At least 3 months have passed since Noah and Mitch Bacall started working together. Noah had no way of knowing Mitch was his parents' nemesis, but this would provide Noah an excuse to be chased off the road as a means of pursuing Nick and Sharon. Was Noah specifically targeted by Mitch or Matt in order to harm Nick and Sharon once more? Because he is from Genoa City, Mitch may bring his wife with him when he returns to town. But it appears like Matt might have changed and be attempting to protect Noah from another person who is attempting to harm him. Could Matt have changed his ways and ended up becoming a decent person? Sharon Newman continues to have doubts about Matt Clark. There must be more to this narrative because Sharon clearly doesn't trust Matt. What secrets might Nick and Sharon learn about this man? Since this criminal matter would not be transferred to Genoa City for any reason, could Mitch and Sienna be in town for a trial or something pertaining to other Newman issues? Is Matt or Mitch returning to Genoa City to stir up trouble? Or is there another motive for his presence? Will Mitch and Sienna remain in Genoa City, or will they depart and return to Los Angeles or perhaps London? When this is all over, will Noah be okay, or will he end up in a complicated situation with Matt and Sienna? Is Holden one of Matt Clark's old friends? Many questions arise now that we know Mitch Bacall from The Young and the Restless is actually Matt Clark. Given that we witnessed Matt's death years ago, how is he still alive? Does his wife, Sienna, realize who he really is? And what's the deal with Mitch and Holden's preview for next week? Is Holden aware of Mitch's true identity? What transpired on The Young and the Restless on Friday? When Sharon learned that Matt Clark was still alive on The Young and the Restless, she was shocked. Sharon came to the Shadow Room on Friday's episode of The Young and the Restless to ask Sienna about her relationship with Noah. Sharon remained outside for a bit after leaving the club in the hopes that Mitch would arrive so she could interview him as well. She looked closely at the man she ran into as he entered the club and was appalled to learn that he was Matt Clark, the man who had sexually assaulted her during their high school years. Matt most likely passed away more than 20 years ago. What on earth is happening? Is Matt Clark truly Mitch Bacall, Sienna's husband who has been a mystery for weeks? As an aside, seeing Sharon at her fiercest form was amazing. Someone just ran my son off the road. Trust me, nobody's gonna mess with me the way I feel right now, she exclaimed to Nick over the phone, getting her worked up. Can we please have more of this, Sharon? The grab the bull by the horns, Mama Bear, take no prisoners, Sharon? We got a huge rush at that time. Holden and Mitch are two shady characters. On The Young and the Restless, Sienna is concealing a sinister secret regarding Holden's history. We've been waiting for answers to this Holden and Audra mystery for the past 10 months or so. Sienna informed Holden on Friday that Kyle was spying on him. She calmed Holden down by promising not to inform Kyle about his relationship with Audra. In return for her quiet, Sienna then informed Holden that he owed her something. She continued, "Just be prepared to answer the call when I decide on my method of payment." Amazing. This must be a really big secret. Claire will later regret giving Holden the time of day, despite the fact that he is attractive and personable. Does Holden know who Mitch really is? If Holden is aware that Mitch is actually Matt Clark, why is he being silent about it? He hardly knows Nick and Sharon. What does he have to do with Matt or Mitch? Holden heard Mitch say, "It's been a long time." Holden and Mitch have previously appeared on The Young and the Restless. The Young and the Restless preview for next week shows Mitch confronting Holden and saying, "It's been a long time." What might be their relationship? Since they seem to have a lengthy history together, is Holden aware that Mitch is actually Matt Clark? Compared to Mitch, Holden appears somewhat younger. They couldn't have possibly grown up together. What if they did, though, and Holden was aware of Mitch's danger? How would Claire respond when she eventually learns that Matt was a psychotic rapist who tormented her Uncle Nick, and Sharon of Holden is an old buddy from Matt's early years? Will Matt go after Claire next? That seems to be the direction this plot is going. Claire traveled to Los Angeles to have some alone time, but she will ultimately end up in danger eventually. This plotline has a lot of questions to answer. What role does Audra play? Is Sienna ignorant of her husband's violent past, or does she know about it and not care? Was Noah run off the road by Matt? Does Holden know whether he did? This plot resembles a jigsaw puzzle. Hopefully, things will start to make sense shortly. Arrival of Mitch and Sienna in Genoa City. Few could have foreseen the mayhem and heartache that would ensue when Mitch Bacall and his mysterious wife Sienna arrived in Genoa City. Noah Newman's eagerly anticipated return home falls on the same day as the couple's arrival. Instead of being a happy reunion, it swiftly devolves into a perilous web of deceit, retaliation, and atonement. With his composed manner and mysterious charm, Mitch appears to be just another prosperous businessman moving for a fresh start. But beyond the well-maintained facade is the sinister reality of who he really is. Matt Clark, one of the most despised people in Sharon and Nick Newman's past. Despite her intelligence and composure, Sienna Bacall appears unaware of her husband's extensive past. They appear to be a power couple to others because they are attractive, prosperous, and self-assured. Yet there is tension, mistrust, and hidden anxieties in their marriage. It is no accident that they have arrived at Genoa City. Every action Mitch does seems planned, as if he's acting out a script that was written years ago. Sharon Newman picks it up right away. The instant she sees Mitch's face, the past that has been hidden for decades by healing comes back to life. The disclosure of Mitch Bacall's identity. When Genoa City learns that Mitch Bacall is truly Matt Clark, it explodes like a bomb. The visceral and eerie encounter Sharon had with him outside the shadow room is a clash of perplexity from the present and trauma from the past. Sharon's delicate tranquility is upended when she sees Matt alive after many years, with a new name and identity. She thought for years that he was dead, along with the suffering he brought about. When she was younger, Matt Clark had been the epitome of evil. He had betrayed her confidence, abused her soul, and almost ended Nick's life. A period of darkness had come to an end with his presumed death. So far, Mitch is portrayed by Roger Howarth with a terrifying ferocity. His serene grin conceals the inner struggle of a guy who has been living under a false identity for years. He seems to some like a man who has changed and is looking for atonement. His return is seen by others, especially Sharon, as a sign of danger and dishonesty. Sharon's gut tells her that Mitch's change is a front. Her discomfort is only increased by her encounter with Sienna. The woman seemed too calm, too conscious. Is she just another pawn in her husband's complex game? Or does she know who he really is? A complex network of deceit. The tragedy is further compounded by Noah Newman's relationship to Mitch. Aspiring and ready to leave his mark, Noah has been unwittingly collaborating with the man who used to scare his parents. He has been working with Mitch on an ambitious creative project for 3 months, and he admires his boss's creativity and leadership. Under his disguise, Mitch has penetrated the very family he once aimed to destroy, which is a painful irony. It starts to make terrifying sense why Noah was run off the road in the first place. Was that a warning? Was it a premeditated move on Mitch's part to resume his psychological battle? Or is it possible that Mitch is genuinely shielding Noah from the plots of others? There are indications that Matt Clark is not the same person this time. His apparent regret, his marriage to Sienna, and his hesitation to approach Sharon directly all point to a man who is torn between his darker instincts and the need for atonement. Maybe Mitch truly wants to move on from his past, but he keeps getting pulled back into the people he damaged. The persistent question is whether a man like Matt Clark can ever change for the better. The secrets of Sienna. Sienna Bacall, played by Tamara Braun, is anything but a submissive companion. She is elegant, witty, and hides her own secrets behind her seductive grin. On the surface, Sienna's devotion to Mitch appears unwavering, but cryptic remarks and evasive looks suggest that there may be rifts in the relationship. Her partnership with Holden, another guy with a hazardous secret, complicates matters, even though she is extremely protective of him and frequently avoids queries about their past. Through her contacts with Holden, Sienna reveals that she is far more knowledgeable about the underbelly of Genoa City than she acknowledges. She's not merely hiding his tracks when she tells Holden that Kyle Abbott is spying on him. She's establishing her authority. Sienna appears to be just as cunning as her husband, as seen by her declaration that Holden owes her for being silent. However, is she aware of her husband's true identity? Or even worse, did she marry him specifically because she is aware of it? Their marriage takes on a sinister undertone when it is implied that Sienna is involved with Matt's new identity. She is an accomplice if she is aware of his violent past. The moment of revelation could ruin her if she doesn't. In any case, beneath Sienna's serene exterior lies a storm that may blow up once the whole truth about Mitch's identity is revealed. Sharon's rage and fear. For Sharon Newman, Matt Clark's return reopens old wounds she believed had healed. When she learns that Noah's injury may be related to Mitch's reappearance, her shock transforms into anger. Sharon's instincts as a mother take control. This is about safeguarding her family, not just about facing a man from her past. The phrase, "believe me, no one will meddle with me, the way I feel at the moment," depicts a new side of Sharon that is ferocious, aggressive, and uncompromising. Emotional complexity is increased by her relationship with Nick. They have endured decades of loss, betrayal, and heartache together, but everything they have worked so hard to rebuild could be destroyed by Matt Clark's return. Sharon and Nick have to strike a balance between justice and retribution, between forgiveness and fear. Sharon begins to notice irregularities as she learns more about Mitch's past, including holes in his account, mysterious absences, and unspoken financial connections. Mitch's Los Angeles life appears to be a meticulously staged delusion intended to conceal his actual history. The more Sharon learns, the more it becomes evident that Genoa City is the last act of a protracted and perverse game rather than merely another stop for Mitch and Sienna. Holden's relationship. More questions are raised by Holden's abrupt involvement. The tension in the air increases as Mitch says, "It's been a long time to meet him." Although their background is unclear, it is clear that these two men have a history together that precedes Mitch's alias. Could Holden have been a fellow survivor of Matt's crimes, or even one of his accomplices from years ago? Holden's response implies that he is afraid of rekindling a link he assumed was long dead, not of being exposed. An additional level of interest is added by Sienna's manipulation of Holden. She has a terrible secret about him that she can use as a weapon, one that is connected to Audra. Mitch's enigmatic familiarity and her hold over Holden make Holden the weakest link in their web of secrets. If he is aware of Mitch's true identity, his quiet has a price, which Sienna is keen to take advantage of. Claire is also at risk because of Holden and Mitch's relationship. Their developing romance could end tragically. Claire is just as innocent as Sharon was when she first met Matt Clark. Claire might be the next victim in Mitch's perilous spiral if history repeats itself. The redemption question, can a monster ever change, is a central question in this plot. A fascinating psychological conundrum is presented by Matt Clark's transition into Mitch Bacall. He appears to have changed everything about himself, including his identity, life, and wife. However, his reappearance in Genoa City implies that he remains bound to the past. Is he returning to make amends, or to complete what he began? His actions suggest internal strife. In contrast to his violent past, Mitch's relationships with Noah are protective, bordering on paternal. He responds to Sharon's challenge with tired resignation rather than haughtiness or denial. He seems weary of escaping his own self. In Genoa City, redemption is still difficult to come by. He has every cause to be distrusted by Sharon, Nick, and their family, the people he damaged the most. Furthermore, wherever Mitch goes, his very existence causes trauma and mayhem, even if he now has the best of intentions. It's unclear how Sienna might contribute to his possible salvation. She may be his moral compass, his anchor, or his accomplice in dishonesty. Everything depends on whether or not she is aware of the truth. Her response might change the entire plot from one of love and loyalty to one of horror and treachery if she finds out that her husband has committed rape and attempted murder. Noah's predicament. Noah is caught between his own gullibility and the history of his parents. Although his collaboration with Mitch appeared to be a promising professional step, he is forced to consider his own judgment after learning more about Mitch's true nature. Noah's life falls apart when he discovers that Mitch is actually Matt Clark, the man who abused his mother and falsely accused his father. He feels terrible about unintentionally supporting his parents' adversary. However, Noah is a Newman, and like his parents, he doesn't give up. This has the makings of a strong father-son plot. Noah's need to accept responsibility clashes with Nick's protective fury. Being torn between them, Sharon ends up acting as the emotional fulcrum. It's possible that Mitch, Holden, and perhaps Sienna were involved in a bigger plot that included Noah's accident, which wasn't entirely random. Noah's survival serves as the impetus for learning the truth, regardless of whether he was the target or just caught in the crossfire. The Shadow Room, a meeting place for secrets. The Shadow Room is the ideal location for the drama that is developing both literally and figuratively. Under soft jazz and dim lighting, it's where alliances are formed, identities are blurred, and secrets are revealed. The pivotal moment when the past and present converge is when Sharon confronts Sienna there. It also serves as the focal point of Mitch and Holden's reunion, during which cryptic conversations allude to a violent and dishonest past. The moral complexity of Genoa City is reflected in this club, a recurrent set piece in the young and the restless. Characters enter in search of pleasure or escape, but they frequently discover only the harsh, brutal truth. The Shadow Room becomes into a battlefield for Sharon, a confessional for Mitch, and a platform for Sienna to control and thrive. The quiet before the storm. The characters' tension reaches a breaking point as the narrative progresses toward its conclusion. Determined to expose Mitch's lies, Sharon and Nick are ready to face him in public. Holden starts to break under pressure, and Sienna tries to keep her composure. Mitch's secret money accounts, Sienna's prior involvement with Holden's crimes, and an enigmatic donor who provided funding for their relocation to Genoa City are among the secrets that begin to surface. All bets are off when Victor Newman discovers who Mitch really is. Mitch won't evade inspection because of the patriarch's sense of fairness and devotion to the family. However, Victor might be taken aback by what he discovers. It's possible that Mitch's comeback wasn't totally his own doing. Rumors of manipulation, extortion, and a shadowy character pulling strings raise the possibility that Matt Clark is a pawn in a bigger scheme. A risky reunion. Mitch, Sienna, and Sharon have an intense and dramatic last encounter. Sharon insists on the truth. Why come back now? Mitch admits tidbits of remorse, saying his actions had plagued him for years. He claims that he never intended to harm Noah and that he came to Genoa City to shield him from powers that are much more sinister than anyone can comprehend. His statements make it difficult to distinguish between sincerity and dishonesty. Sharon finds it difficult to believe him, caught between sympathy and terror. However, Sienna becomes agitated. When she discovers the whole scope of her husband's past, the cracks finally appear. Her idyllic existence abruptly ends. The man she believed to be her partner and protector is actually a monster masquerading as a man. She confronts Mitch in a devastating and enraged manner, saying, "You didn't just lie to me. You used blood to build our whole existence." The tempest becomes much more chaotic as Holden reappears at that same moment. He and Mitch's alliance breaks down, resulting in a violent altercation that injures one of them. Whether intentional or not, the scene reflects the past. Matt Clark is once more brought to justice, this time by the results of his own deceit rather than by Nick or Sharon. Epilogue: Historical Shadows. Genoa City has been permanently altered in the aftermath. Sharon comes out stronger, her trauma becoming a scar of survival rather than a wound. Nick supports her, reiterating their unwavering relationship. With greater maturity and self-awareness, Noah takes control of his life and makes a commitment to never allow his family's history to define him. It's unclear what will happen to Mitch. Some think he's dead, while others say he ran out of town. Broken but determined, Sienna makes the decision to start over, by herself. Holden disappears completely, leaving a trail of unresolved questions in his wake. The last scene, however, ends on a vague note. Sharon gets an anonymous letter, in typical young and the restless way. There is only one phrase inside. "You don't know the whole story." The handwriting is clearly visible. Matt Clark, also known as Mitch Bacall, is still alive.